another sector, industry, that continues to be under hammer of the GST authority is the online gaming sector, which has now received the industry has received 71 GST notices to the tune of 1.1 lakh crore rupees as of October. What's happening? What are these GST dues all about?
So, Shweta, I think, we had also done a calculation of a similar format. This number of 1.12 lakh crore rupees was mentioned in Parliament by MoS Finance, Mr. Pankaj Chaudhary, and 71 notices amounting to 1.12 lakh crore, and according to one of the publications, another 20 to 30 notices yet to be served. So, we are definitely looking at, in the month of November. So, we are definitely looking at a much larger number than 1.12 lakh crore rupees. Now, the biggest hit of this receiver of the biggest blow of this comes to a company called Games 24/7, which runs games like Rummy and Poker, etc. online. 20,000 crore rupees is slapped just on that one company, Games 24/7. Now, obviously, these challenges are grave, and we've been discussing them for months now. I think the 50th GST Council meet is when the government issued what it called a clarification and not a change in GST rules. And what was this clarification? The clarification was that online games, betting, casino, horse racing, etc. is all one single industry, and all of them are going to be taxed at 28% of face value. What were online gaming companies paying until then? Online gaming companies were paying 18% GST, not 28% GST, 18% GST, not on face value, but on the platform fee. So, primarily what this really means is that if there was 100 rupees on the table, if 100 rupees was parked by a gamer onto a platform, government says pay 28 rupees as GST. What the gaming platforms were doing was that if 100 rupees is coming onto the platform, they would take 10 rupees as platform fee and let the gamer play with 90 rupees. Now, that 10 rupees, they would pay a 18% tax on that 10 rupees, which was 1.8 rupees. So, 1 rupee 80 paisa of taxes paid since 2017 versus the demand for 28 rupees is obviously, I mean, in multiples, it is a huge delta which gaming companies have to now cough out.
You know, one of my, and I think concerns of the online gaming players as well is that it's been very long now. We've been discussing this for months and months, and gaming companies are taking GST authority to court saying that we cannot pay up this amount, which essentially means that the case is likely to continue in the court of law for a very long time. Can't the authorities sit with gaming platforms on a table and decide on what is mutually accepted?
No, I think a lot of those discussions have happened, Shweta. And if you remember that period between the 50th and the 51st GST Council meet, that entire period of 1 month or so was actually dedicated to a lot of industry talks. And in fact, you had MoS IT Rajiv Chandrasekhar also hinting at that point that some sort of an amicable agreement negotiation would be arrived at. It was never arrived at, right? It was not arrived at. And the 51st GST Council meet only reaffirmed the clarification of the 50 GST Council meet that we are charging you 28% on face value, like it or not. Now, of course, litigation is always an option, and litigation is what we are seeing right now. But I think you're right, it will be at least a few months, if not years, before it goes to one court, it gets challenged. If there is a verdict in favor of either party, the other party challenging it going to a higher court. So I think all of that is likely to play out over time. But the fact of the matter is that now the gaming companies are also saying that why not put a regulator in place for us? If you think that we are evading tax and if you're not doing business fairly, then instead of the SRO, which is a self-regulatory organization, put a SEBI-like regulator in place and let the regulator come and see whether we are following the code of conduct, whether we are doing our business correctly or not. Now, all of that is also again happening on the back of investments in the gaming sector dwindling. So this was once supposed to be a sunshine sector. It was supposed to be a $4 billion worth industry. And those investments ever since April this year have actually been reduced to a trickle and hardly any fresh funds coming into the gaming sector. So I think with this GST, call it retrospective or call it a clarification or call it whatever you may, but with this demand of ₹1 trillion plus of GST, how many of these companies are going to remain solvent is another question that the government should think about, because there is, of course, employment and there is investment which is coming into or through this sector. So I think government has to see that ₹1 trillion worth of compromise or so may be negotiated, and you should be in a position to let these companies flourish if they are following the law and if they are operating legally, and maybe let them not pay this or all of this retrospectively, and the changes or whatever the clarification could now be extended and implemented only from a certain date and not all the way back to 2017.
Absolutely, and online gaming companies and the government will remain at loggerheads while they get 71 GST notices. Many of these companies, remember, have taken GST authority to court, where the matter is likely to be heard even maybe in the next couple of weeks or months or so. But at this point, GST dues to the tune of 1.12 lakh crore rupees, that is what the gaming sector is staring at.